Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Red Beard, and it's a damn fine day to talk about a book. And today we're here for a book review. We're going to do a poetry review, which again, I've only recently kind of gotten back into reading poetry. But this is called "Everything Is Waiting for You" by David Whyte. Now, like I said, used to read poetry all the time, and I stopped, and so this is the second one. So the first one I read, it was by a poet laureate of the United States, but really it just wasn't my cup of tea. I mean, I liked it, but this one here, cool situation, second one, and it just knocked it out of the park for me. Like, I love this book. I love this author's style. I love the subject matter. I mean, when it comes to poetry, I'm more about human emotions, human things, grief and death and loss and love and long love and things like that. And this one just kind of hit it out of the park for me. But like there's so many good ones in here. But again, like I said, poetry is weird. Poetry volumes are weird because for me, there can be a handful of poems that just kill it for me, and that means that the book killed it for me. Whereas in a prose book, there could be 4 or 5 sections that I just love, but I look at the book as a whole. And in poetry, it feels like if there are poems that I love, 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 then the book, anything in the book that maybe wasn't perfect for me gets overlooked. And that's just how it is. I gave this book 5 stars. I really like this collection. I've gone out and picked up some more of David Whyte's work. Yeah. But it started off with, I think, The Lightest Touch is the very first poem in here. It started with The Lightest Touch, and it just kind of sets the framework of what you would expect, what you want to feel, what you want to find in a volume of poetry. It just kind of just set the mood perfectly. So some of my favorites in here, and I'm going to come back and read The Lightest Touch for you, but were The Lightest Touch. There's one called Forgive. There's one called Threshold that I really liked, and one called The Shell, one called Farewell Letter, uh, and then let's see what else I got here. I got a couple others here. Okay, Letting Go. Damn, Letting Go is my favorite poem in the whole damn book. And then September 2001, and what I found with that one is it was a really, I mean, because you think what a poem entitled September 2001 is going to be about. And it loosely is, but that's not really what we're talking about here. So I don't know. I mean, when I review these things, I'm not a literary expert. I am not a poetry master. So it is really, really hard for me to review poetry. Really, all I can do is tell you how it made me feel, read a couple of the ones that I really, really loved, and kind of leave it at that. But it's important for me to document my thoughts on everything I read. So appreciate you being here. I'm going to read a couple of these poems, the ones that just killed it for me, and yeah, and I'll probably struggle through them and mess them up. But I want to read The Lightest Touch because that's the one, like I said, that just set the collection off perfectly. So, The Lightest Touch. Good poetry begins with the lightest touch. A breeze arriving from nowhere, a whispered, healing arrival, a word in your ear, a settling into things. Then, like a hand in the dark, it arrests the whole body, stealing you for revelation. In the silence that follows a great line, you can feel Lazarus deep inside. Even the laziest, most deathly afraid part of you lift up his hands and walk toward the light. Damn. Another one. So the one I said about. Well, first of all, I want to briefly mention the farewell letter. It's a letter from a mother to her son on leaving, on dying, on moving on, and it's a beautiful piece. But I absolutely love letting go, and I'm not even going to read. I might read the entire thing. Yeah, I am going to read the entire thing. So, letting go, page 28. Everything is waiting for you. And like I said, this book, I didn't know who David Whyte was. I've never heard of him. My wife bought 2 poetry collections at I think Half Price Books. She bought the one I talked about briefly, Tracy K. Smith, and this one. And she read them both, and they came in here, and I grabbed them kind of before they were injected into their alphabetical order on the shelves, and set them aside because I wanted to read them. And wow, that's what gets me, is that, completely lucked into reading this collection, and it just kind of knocked me on my ass. So, letting go. Um, at the end, things pass away into a hard-won perspective. The sepia photographs of childhood, like twilight encounters with eternity, and the youthful laughter peeling across a mountainside. Standing close together, we make our vows in front of others, knowing with a backward kind of courage that everything passes away, no matter how precious the memory, and that even in this we recognize the flourish and the firm signature of love. Everything we ever held in our hands is given to another, or slips like sand through the gate of our fingers into something which to begin with we cannot recognize. Everything we ever held in our hands is given away in marriage to another person or another world. How could we know the blessings which illuminated our days, the joy too strong to feel until it was no longer there to disturb us? I'm going to pause there. The dog's barking, but this last stanza is what just killed it for me. And I cannot believe that this dog is going to ruin my vibe right now. Hold on 1 second. So I'm gonna read that last stanza I just read, and then read the end of the poem, and I think hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about. But so the last stanza was, how could we know the blessings which illuminated our days, the joy too strong to feel until it was no longer there to disturb us? We find ourselves always at last ennobled by the encounter, the wedding vows remembered at the end and cherished now, like a live hand holding a dead hand, loving everything it must let go. Like a live hand holding a dead hand holding everything it must let go. Holy shit. Everything is Waiting for You by David Whyte. It was 5 stars for me. To quote an author that I used to read all the time, and I need to get back to, David Joy, he says, read poetry. For God's sakes, read poetry. This has been Well Red Beard. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.